Okay, so Friday you have a test on Chapter 8. I'm going to go through the study guides to tell you what you can start studying for. It is a lot of memorization. You need to know all of the properties for each one of the quadrilaterals we talked about. Now, the first part of the test is going to be looking for the sum of the measures. So like what we did in 8.1. So the formula here that we learned in Theorem 8.1, the n minus 2 times 180, you're going to need to know that formula. Okay, I'm going to ask you to find the sum of the interior angles. I may ask you to find one individual interior angle. So know this formula from 8.1. Be able to work forwards and backwards like we did in the homework. Like if I give you what one angle is, you need to tell me how many sides are in that polygon. So be able to use this formula. And you'll also need to find out an exterior measure. Remember, no matter what the figure is, the sum of the exterior angles is always 360. So there's good examples here and practice problems for this. And there are the answers. Then from 8.2, this is where we started learning about the properties of the parallelograms. You will need to know all of these because if I give you a picture, you need to be able to identify if it's a parallelogram or not. You will also have to look for and figure out missing side lengths of a parallelogram or missing angles of a parallelogram. Okay? Most of the calculations on this test is going to be either looking for a missing, it'll either say solve for x or find the measure of, whether it's an angle, whether it's a side length, whether it's a diagonal. And you'll be doing this for all quadrilaterals we talked about in the chapter. So in this lesson, we focused on parallelograms. So here they have some exercises down here that you can practice for finding side lengths and angles of parallelograms. And example 1 explains that. On the back page, there are going to be more practice problems down here. You will not have to graph any coordinates and draw your own figure. So no coordinates, no coordinate plane where you're going to graph. You will not have to do the distance formula either. And 8.3, sorry. Distance formula, no coordinate plane. And then in 8.3, this is where we were told that it's a parallelogram and we had to prove, or they gave us the congruent informations and we had to prove that it was a parallelogram. So just sort of the converse of what we saw in 8.2. And again, no coordinate plane, no distance formula, but you will be looking for missing side lengths and missing angles. Know all the properties for every figure and be able to answer sometimes, always, and never questions about the figures. Here again, there's some sometimes, always, and never in here. Here are all of the properties for rhombuses, rectangles, and squares along with the definitions. You need to memorize them. Here are some more examples. Here it's asking you to classify. You would give me the most specific name. Again, more sometimes, always, and never questions. And there are the answers. Then in 8.5, this is where we saw the trapezoids and the kites. Remember, a trapezoid and a kite is not a parallelogram. Again, no coordinate plane, no distance formula, but know all of these theorems and definitions of trapezoids and kites. You will have to calculate a mid-segment. Again, no coordinate plane, but know the formula for mid-segment. Know how to find missing pieces of a kite or missing angle. Know which sides are congruent and which angles are congruent. And then in 8.6, this is where we tied it all together. And we didn't have to learn anything new. We just had to take everything we learned in lessons 1 through 5. And if I gave you a picture of a shape, you had to tell me what name it was. I'm not going to describe it. I'm actually going to give you pictures. So for example, these problems down here, where I'm giving you pictures, and then you would tell me the most specific name based on the congruency marks. You can't assume anything. And then the last slide has the answers. So again, first part of the test will be doing a lot of calculations, no calculators. Then after that, the next section, it's going to be sometimes, always, and never questions. And then after that, they'll be identifying the specific or the special quadrilateral. And then the last question is a proof. And again, focus on your homeworks. Focus on the practice A's. Go back. I've pulled most of the questions so that you've seen it and done it before in the homework. No surprises. I believe the most challenging part of the test is going to be the sometimes, always, and never questions. So if you know the properties and the definitions backwards and forwards and inside and out, then the sometimes, always, and never questions will be easy. So what we're going to do today is you can start looking through these study guides. The study guides do not need to be turned in. However, there is a review on Canvas that needs to be turned in. You're going to work on it in class today. You can work on it with a partner or a group, and then tomorrow you guys are going to go to the board and work them out. So you already know what you need to start studying. And maybe even if there's time, maybe we'll do a Kahoot tomorrow also. Yeah. Okay. There are 20 questions on the test. This is the last test of the quarter, and you will have one more quiz on chapter 10. The quarter ends in March.